Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your coach Ian Shaw here with another recipe breakdown. We're gonna be tackling a vegetarian black bean burrito bowl today. That's actually really good alliteration, black bean burrito bowl. Anyway, really excited about this recipe. It's in our nutrition guide that we put out with our course. And the reason why we put this out here was to break this down to give you these little tips and tricks so that way you can make these recipes really quickly at home and to give you a little bit of guidance if you feel a little hesitant in the kitchen. So let's get after it. Quinoa. Set up here, it's about 1 cup to 1.5 cups of water. 1 cup of quinoa to 1.5 cups of water. But a little tip is the amount of water for anything that you're cooking is to measure it up to your first knuckle. It's a really great tip so that way you can cook things more expediently. You don't have to bust out a bunch of measuring spoons. It's about 1 cup to 1.5. Some things require a little bit more water, so it's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches above the grain is what you're trying to cook. And that measurement, a little finger measurement, is a little tip that you can use to measure how much water you need in a very quick way. Next, we're gonna get a little pot of water boiling, so not a lot. We're gonna be boiling our kale, blanching actually is what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be blanching our kale for about 2 minutes to soften it up so that way it's tender and really delicious to eat. A lot of people hate kale because it's a really rough vegetable that if you don't cook correctly, it can be really hard and tough to manage and get through. So this is a really quick tip that you can use with a lot of these rough greens to blanch them really quickly and then throw them into a stir fry, which is gonna make them really tasty. All right, next we're gonna be getting some oil, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil in a pan. And we're gonna start sauteing some garlic and onions. All right, so we got our kale in here, we got our kale destemmed in our boiling water, and we're gonna blanch that for 2 minutes. All right, so now we're gonna chop up about 1/2 of an onion. It calls for 1 small onion. This is a pretty large one, so I'm only gonna be using about 1/2 of it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, take off the outer peel. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and just using the tip of the knife, walk back about 90% of the way through. Then I'm gonna come back through about 2 or 3 times, and then using my middle finger, I break this down in a different video about chopping techniques. I'm gonna use a rocking motion to go through and dice up that onion. That onion in the pan. Got that oil hot first, which is a really important step. Now we're gonna saute that guy for probably about 3 to 4 minutes. All right, next up, we're gonna be mincing some garlic. Quickest way to mince garlic, fresh garlic, is to take the side of the knife, push down until you feel a break, and then you're gonna peel the excess off. It's the quickest way to peel garlic. And then I'm going to come through that same rocking motion that I did with the onions, and that's going to mince up my garlic. Now I'm going to throw that in the pan with the onions. I'm going to cook that for about another 60 seconds to 2 minutes. All right, so now that the garlic has been sauteing, we are going to open up can of black beans, and we're going to strain all that liquid out so that way they're just fresh out of the can. All right, so we got our black beans in there, we got our kale, we got our spices. I used cumin, smoked paprika. If you've never tried smoked paprika instead of regular paprika, it's a game changer. I put in some chili powder, sea salt, black pepper, and I think that's it. Yeah. All right, so our quinoa's done. It's nice and fluffy. I put a bouillon cube in here to add a little bit more flavor. You don't have to do that because there's already gonna be a lot of flavor in the beans there, but quinoa can be a little bland if you don't have any seasoning in there. A really quick tip is instead of cooking it in just water, you can cook it in either broth or using a bouillon cube so as you don't have to have broth on hand all the time. All right, the last thing we got here is to garnish up our bowl. And we're just gonna be quartering these cherry tomatoes. Last but not least, fresh avocado. So I'm gonna use either a knife or I have a little spatula here, and I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna make these little lines, and then I'm gonna scoop around the outside really carefully. That's gonna give me those beautiful slivered sliced avocado. Avocado by itself is really tasty, but a great way to bring out the flavors as well is to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of either lime or lemon juice. All right, so that wraps up another recipe breakdown. Thanks so much for watching. If you give this recipe a try, please like and subscribe below. Give me your feedback, give me your comments. Let me know if you think I skipped over something or if you found something that worked really well for you. That would be awesome. Always want to hear that feedback. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic night.